Hey guys, we are back with another Marvel Legends review, taking a look at a very long-awaited figure, definitely one of the highlights for this new wave, and that would be our new Hercules figure. This guy comes in our standard Marvel Legends packaging. You can see him there in the window. We've got his name down there on the bottom. We've got some new artwork on the spine, and then that same artwork on the back, along with a write-up, and then we've got some artwork of our other characters in the wave, along with our Thanos Build-A-Figure. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, we've got our Hercules figure out of the package. This was easily the figure in the wave that I had to have just based on my own personal interests. This and Living Laser were the ones that really did it for me just from a looks perspective, from a character perspective, and I think we've got a lot of cool stuff going on with this particular figure. I do have a few gripes, and one of them is probably going to be the main thing that everybody has a gripe about. He does seem to be a little small in general, but I think just taking him as a whole, I think there's a lot to enjoy with this particular figure. And I gotta say, right off the bat, he photographs really, really well. There's a lot of cool, fun poses you can put this figure in. A lot of that has to do with just his look and the style that they've gone with here. So we're gonna go through all the normal stuff as usual. So we got articulation first, and it's pretty much exactly what you would expect, but of course this isn't a body that we're really used to, although it does move kind of exactly how you'd expect for a Marvel Legends. So we've got a ball hinge for the head and neck, so he can go backwards, like all the way up. So if he was flying, it would be really nice. And then he can look pretty much all the way down. You've got rotation side to side. Arms go out, forward and backward. Bicep swivels, double jointed elbow, so more than 90, get him a nice flexing pose. You've got hinge and swivel wrists. We have got a crunch. He goes backwards, he goes forwards pretty far. It's not tight, but it's also not loose either, so it flows pretty well. You've got a waist twist that actually sits right underneath his big belt, so it doesn't really get in the way. Legs go out about that far. They kick forward. They kick back a good bit. You've got a thigh cut. You've got your double jointed knees, and then you have got a boot cut down here, and then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges at the ankles. So he's pretty much, standard Marvel Legends as far as articulation goes, but he does move around pretty well. He is still a little bulkier than a lot of figures, but he doesn't really suffer from any real hindrances just because he is slightly bigger. Of course, he is slightly bigger, but he's also sort of undersized as well, like I've already mentioned. Now, in the looks department, I really, really enjoy this figure. This is a more modern approach for Hercules, and it's one that I'm personally not too familiar with. I'm familiar with him up through, like mid to late 2000s, but this is even newer than that, as far as I can tell anyway, from what I can remember. But I do like it. It's very much the Hercules that I kind of know, but he also has a lot more going on. We've obviously got pants, knee pads, some straps, some boots. We've got this big harness on his chest, and he does have the man bun this time around. But I do like the way this figure looks, and right off the bat, he's got the ability to store both of his weapons, so that is a huge benefit to me. Of course, the big thing, or maybe not the big thing, is what I've already mentioned, is that he does seem to be a little undersized. I don't know if that's really reducing my enjoyment for this figure at all, but he definitely doesn't seem as beefy as he should be when you put him next to maybe the other god type characters, which I'll do here shortly. So of course we're talking about a comic book Thor, or we're talking about Ares in particular. Those are the ones that people are going to compare him to, and he definitely seems a bit small. But as far as the figure itself goes, I think it's pretty much a home run. I really don't have any issues with the way he looks, with the styling. I like these pants. I like the paintwork on them. I like these knee pads. I like the boot design here with the belt kind of straps and more kind of like futuristic high-tech kind of boots down here. We've got some bangles here on his wrists. He has got painted chest hair, which looks really, really nicely done. It's down there on his abs. Some of it's, of course, obscured by the harness, which on its own I think looks really nice. If there's one real gripe I have, is that this thing seems to want to ride up on him a little bit. That might fix itself over time, but right now I do find myself continually kind of pulling on it and tugging it down. I think a lot of that has to do with this strap here. When you move the leg, it's going to start to kind of push it up a bit. But otherwise, I do think it looks nice. You've got the kind of lion insignia there, which is very much a Hercules, Greek myth type of thing. I like the paint applications on this. They're clean enough. I would have honestly been fine if it was just straight green, but it's got that brown accent on there. And then, of course, the back, I've already got his weapons in there just because I can, and I always love that. I mention that every time I can. So he comes with 2 weapons, and you can keep both weapons on him at any time. The body itself, the actual, unsuited body, the naked chest and arms, I think are really nice. They are pretty beefy. They definitely have, a lot of muscle definition in there, and they do seem to be suited for a figure that is definitely maybe a little more stout than others. So, maybe not quite the Hyperion type of body, but something that's a little bit different. And I really do like the way it looks. I'm just not sure that it's big enough for Hercules. He's not huge, obviously. Hercules is not a massive character, but he definitely seems to be a little more larger than life, and this guy seems to be more in line with just a really bulky standard human, which is fine, but he definitely looks kind of odd next to some other figures. The head on this guy, though, I think is absolutely top notch. I think it's really well done. The beard is nicely done. He kind of has this, kind of quintessential Hercules kind of smarmy look on his face. Sometimes it looks like it's a standard just non-expression, but in certain lights, you can see that he's kind of smirking almost, and it just works. I really like it. I would have liked to have seen maybe a more angry type of face because it is Hercules. He's, meant to be in the thick of battle, but this head and this expression absolutely works for me. Paintwork on it's really nicely done as well. You've got those bright blue eyes in there, and then of course you've got the head guard, and again we've got the man bun going on here, but it's sculpted nicely whether I care about this hairstyle or not, and it's not for me personally, but I think it works here, and I think it's all tied together nicely with that headband, and the sculpt on it's really well done. So the head on this thing is definitely one of the strong suits for me. This may not be the look that I'm too familiar with Hercules, but I know for sure that this is a very nice Hercules look, and it comes across really well in figure form. Now, as far as size comparisons, since I've obviously mentioned the fact that I think he is a little too small, here he is against the figures that come to mind when I think of, well, who am I going to compare him to amongst other legends that I personally have? And obviously Thor comes to mind immediately. This may not be everybody's Thor. This is one of the older Hasbro legends. And it's the one that I use until we get this version with better articulation, which probably won't ever happen. And then we've got the most recent version or recent iteration of Ares. And in general, I just think that Hercules looks a little small compared to these guys. I just don't think he has that same impact in terms of height and then overall kind of thickness and width. The body is pretty solid on its own, but when you get him next to these two figures in particular, and at least for my collection, these are how he's going to be, kind of stacked up against. He just seems to kind of shrink away in comparison. He definitely seems to be the small guy of the bunch here. Now, in comparison to maybe some other larger than average figures, we've got a Hyperion body over here, which I think Captain Britain would probably work really well on this body. And then you've got the more recent Living Laser figure from the same wave as Hercules, and you can just see maybe alongside some more quote-unquote normal size figures that he definitely seems to scale in with some of these, but I don't think these two should really be the same height or size. They look very, very similar. Hercules, I think, should be beefier and bigger than Captain Britain, and this guy's just really for more, just to normalize things, because obviously these two are both going to be bigger. So I think that he basically looks good, but he still needs to be just a little bit bigger. Now, as far as accessories goes, we have got a handful of things here, quite a good spread considering how much new stuff's going on with Hercules in general. So we've got a set of gripping hands that replace the fist hands that come on the figure in the package, because he comes with two weapons and you want to be able to dual wield with this guy. So you have got this large kind of bladed mace here. It's got what's supposed to be like a metal handle with a wooden shaft here, and then you've got the three-pronged blades with some kind of dings and dents and scratches and kind of etched markings in there. And then you've got this golden hilt sword here with more dings and scratches all over the blade. Very, very simple designs, but they work really well for Hercules. And then, of course, you can store both of them one at a time or both simultaneously in the sheaths on his back, which is a huge plus for me. So he comes with basically everything that I think he should need. You've got two weapons, 4 total hands, depending on how you want to look at that. So you've got a wide array of accessories here, and you can get him into some interesting and different configurations because of that. So overall, while I still think the size issue on this figure is definitely just that, an issue, it really doesn't bother me all that much. He definitely does look small against larger figures like Thor, like Ares. Unfortunately, the stuff that I'm going to display him against, but the figure itself does look really, really good. There's no disputing that. The head sculpt is on point, the paint work is fantastic. I like this body style, I like the harness, I like being able to store both of his weapons, I like his weapons, and he just comes with an all-around solid package. There's not much to complain about outside of that sizing issue, and I'm sure that was a calculated risk on Hasbro's part because they're going to reuse this stuff for sure. I just wish that he had been a little bit beefier because he is a rather larger than life type of character and he does look a little too small compared to some of those similar types of characters. But overall, he is still a fun figure and easily one of the must-haves of the wave. So that's going to do it for this look at the Marvel Legends Hercules figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.